Inside the Diddy trial, shocking allegations and celebrity entanglements. What if the glamorous world of hip-hop hid something far more sinister? What if one of the industry's most powerful moguls had spent decades carefully constructing a life of luxury, only for it all to unravel in a courtroom? That's the question everyone's asking as Sean Diddy Combs finds himself at the centre of a scandal that's shaking the music industry to its core. Behind the platinum records, the flashy parties, and the red carpet appearances lies a series of allegations so disturbing they've left even his closest allies stunned. But how did we get here? And what are the accusations that have turned Diddy's name from iconic to infamous almost overnight? Let's rewind the clock. The rise of a mogul. Before the headlines, before the court dates, before the controversy, Diddy was a king. Born Sean John Combs, he started as an intern at Uptown Records, quickly proving he wasn't just another wide-eyed hopeful. By the early 90s, he'd launched Bad Boy Records and changed hip-hop forever. The label produced a generation-defining sound, introducing the world to artists like the notorious B.I.G., Faith Evans, and Mace. Diddy wasn't just a producer, he was a visionary, a branding genius who transformed himself into a cultural force. Everything he touched seemed to turn to gold. Clothing lines, vodka brands, TV shows, reality competitions. Diddy didn't just play the game, he reinvented it. For decades, he stood as a symbol of success, self-made wealth, and influence. He wasn't just in the room with the powerful, he was the room. But behind the scenes, whispers had started. Stories that didn't make it to the magazines. Rumours passed around like secrets too dangerous to say aloud. And now, in 2025, those whispers have become testimony. What came next would pull back the curtain on a world few had ever seen, and most weren't prepared for. The allegations surface. It was a headline that no one expected, and yet it felt like something had been bubbling just beneath the surface for years. In September of 2024, everything changed. Sean Diddy Combs was arrested on a wave of federal charges that sent shockwaves through the music industry. The list wasn't just long, it was damning. Sex trafficking, racketeering, coercion, and more. The kind of charges that make people stop scrolling and start asking questions. Authorities claimed that behind Diddy's carefully curated image was an elaborate system of abuse and manipulation. Allegations that painted a far darker picture than anyone could have imagined. According to federal documents, what started as a music empire may have doubled as a trap. One where fame, wealth, and access were used not to uplift, but to control. Almost immediately, the public divided. Fans rushed to defend him. Former associates went silent, and others started talking. The courtroom became the stage, and what followed would expose more than just one man. It would pull the veil off a culture of silence in the highest circles of entertainment. But the story didn't end with the arrest. In fact, it was only the beginning. Because then came Mia's testimony. A former assistant speaks out. For nearly a decade, Mia worked side by side with Diddy. From 2009 to 2017, she was more than just an assistant. She was a confidant, a constant presence at his events, meetings, and private moments. To the outside world, it seemed like a dream job. But according to her testimony, it was a nightmare. In court, Mia described a world of blurred lines, psychological control, and sexual coercion. She claimed Diddy didn't just use his power, he weaponized it. She alleged that on multiple occasions, she was forced into unwanted sexual situations. One incident allegedly took place during his 40th birthday party. Another happened mid-flight on his private jet. Her voice cracked as she recounted the details, but she didn't waver. Perhaps the most haunting part wasn't the assaults themselves, but how normalised they had allegedly become. Mia said she felt brainwashed, manipulated into thinking it was all part of her loyalty, her role, her responsibility to stay close. She admitted to continuing communication with Diddy even after leaving Bad Boy Records, sharing texts and posts that the defense would later use against her. But to Mia, it wasn't affection, it was survival. She told the court, "When someone controls your career, your income, and your sense of safety, you smile. You say thank you. You pretend you're okay, even when you're not." The courtroom was silent, but what came next would ignite an even bigger storm, because Diddy's defense wasn't backing down, and their strategy would raise more than a few eyebrows. Defense strategy and cross-examination. Diddy's legal team didn't flinch. From the start, the defense made it clear their mission was to dismantle Mia's credibility, piece by piece. Led by high-powered attorney Brian Steele, the strategy wasn't to deny Diddy's celebrity lifestyle. It was to suggest that Mia had been a willing participant, and that now she was twisting history for money. Steele came armed with receipts, literally. He pulled up affectionate texts from Mia, some sent months after her employment ended. Messages like, "Miss you, boss," and Instagram posts showing her at Diddy's events, with smiles, champagne, and luxury all around. Steele grilled her on the stand, asking why she'd continue a relationship with someone she claimed had traumatized her. Mia's answer was raw, "Because I didn't know I was traumatized until I was out, until I had distance, until I wasn't scared anymore." Still, the courtroom was divided. To some, her story made perfect psychological sense. To others, the evidence looked like contradiction. Steele doubled down, suggesting she was fabricating claims now that Diddy's empire was vulnerable. A move, he implied, meant to cash in on chaos. It wasn't just a battle of facts, it was a battle of perception. And for a celebrity like Diddy, perception is everything. But the case wasn't just about Mia. More names started surfacing, and that's when things took a turn no one expected. Celebrity connections and courtroom revelations. Diddy's world was never small. It was glitzy, global, and packed with A-listers. So when names like Madonna, Judd Apatow, and even Chadwick Boseman started coming up in testimony, it shocked everyone watching. Mia claimed that after leaving Bad Boy Records, she began working for Madonna, but even there, she couldn't escape Diddy's shadow. According to her testimony, Diddy allegedly tried to sabotage her new job, spreading damaging rumours behind the scenes, blackballing her quietly. There were no emails, no written threats, but she insisted the pressure was real. "He wanted to remind me," she told the court, "that no matter where I went, he still had reach." In another bombshell moment, Mia described a secretive party attended by major celebrities, one where she claimed disturbing behaviour was not only tolerated, but expected. She didn't name names, but the implication was clear. Diddy's influence extended into circles far beyond music. Some of those names have since distanced themselves from the trial. Others haven't commented at all, but the public was already buzzing. Online forums, blogs, and TikTok exploded with theories, speculation, and unconfirmed inside info. As one user posted, "If even half of this is true, Hollywood's about to look very different." And that's exactly what the prosecution seemed to be aiming for. Not just one conviction, but a complete dismantling of a legacy. But the courtroom wasn't the only place Diddy was taking hits. Outside the courthouse, the fallout was just beginning. Section 6. public and legal repercussions. As the courtroom drama played out day by day, the real-world consequences came crashing in fast. Endorsement deals vanished. Ciroc pulled ads. Fashion brands wiped their pages clean of his image. Nightclubs that once begged for his appearance suddenly wanted nothing to do with him. And across social media, a very different kind of legacy was forming. One made of headlines, protest hashtags, and relentless speculation. Diddy, who had spent decades building an empire rooted in image, suddenly had no control over the narrative. In the corporate world, silence turned to distance. Executives who once sat front row at his shows quietly stepped away. Bad Boy Records, which had been Diddy's crown jewel, was now being scrutinised under a microscope. Former employees began whispering to reporters. Some hinted that Mia's testimony was just the tip of the iceberg. Even longtime fans found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew. Was the lavish lifestyle a mask? Were the extravagant parties just a distraction from something darker? And yet, for all the damage being done to Diddy's reputation, the legal battle was far from over. The prosecution continued to build their case. More witnesses were expected. More testimony was on the horizon. If convicted, Diddy could face decades behind bars, potentially even life. But regardless of what the final verdict will be, one thing was already certain. The music industry would never look at him the same way again. And for some, that reckoning was long overdue. A legacy in question. There was a time when Sean Combs was untouchable. A music mogul, a cultural icon, a symbol of ambition and reinvention. But in 2025, that image is cracked, shattered by allegations, courtroom testimony, and a legacy now hanging by a thread. Some still defend him. Others say they saw it coming. But most? They're just watching, stunned, as the empire he built teeters on the edge of collapse. And perhaps the most haunting part isn't just what's been revealed, but what might still be hidden. Because if the rumours are true, if the whispers in Hollywood and hip-hop circles are only the beginning, then this trial could be just the first domino in a much bigger fall. For now, all eyes remain on that courtroom. But outside its walls, one question is echoing louder and louder. How many more secrets are waiting to be exposed? Subscribe to Reporting Live 9 News channel for more buzzing news from around the world.